You can feel the adrenaline rush when Gus Johnson calls a game. The lead play-by-play man for Fox Sports is our Impact interview guest for this week. And I looked up synonyms for highly energetic to try and find a way to describe Gus. Indefatigable and kinetic were the two words that jumped out at me. Gus, we're looking forward to this conversation. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right, man. I'm so happy to be with you guys. Thanks for asking me to come on. You know I love me some Nittany Lions. And we got the big shebang going on in Iowa City this weekend, so I can't wait.
Yeah, we cannot wait for the next 15 to 20 minutes with you. This is our Impact interview. You were an excellent athlete in high school and in college at Howard University. So what kind of impact did playing sports growing up have on your now successful career behind the mic calling sports?
Well, you know, you asked me that question, and I got two bad coaches that are on this interview. So all of a sudden I had to straighten up a little bit, you know, get that back straight, lean forward. Hey, sports is everything to me, and it's taught me everything. It feeds me to this day. The reason that I'm sitting here talking to you is because of sports. I love sports. You know, the ancient Greeks used to say that we're three major stories: man against nature, man against man, and man against himself. And you see that quite often in every athletic competition that you see. Sports changed my life, saved my life, gave me a sanctuary to where I could go and just get into, back then as a kid, playing ball, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, floor hockey, ice hockey. I was a wrestler, and then later martial arts, Xing Yi Kung Fu, Wing Chun Kung Fu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, American boxing, and now Filipino martial arts. I just love to be physical. I love that the lessons that are taught in sports, the discipline, the commitment, and the achievement and the defeat. So it changed my life. It's the most important quality of my life. And I'm just so happy that my mother, at 6 years old, dropped me off at the boys club and said, go learn how to play.
That's fantastic. I got whiplash just trying to keep up with all the things that you're involved with. This is a battle of similar teams with a heavy emphasis on defense. As you look at the top 5 teams in the country, they're all playing great defense right now. Do you think defense is back in vogue in college football?
And it's so great. Don't you? I mean, it's so great. You got Alabama, obviously, with Coach Saban, who's a defensive genius. Georgia, look what they did to Arkansas last week. I mean, they put it on them, and that defense was just wonderful. I'm watching this Penn State game that they just played against Indiana, and they're just laying it on guys. So I just feel so happy about it. It's wonderful to see defense. My only problem with the defense is that SEC teams never play in any cold weather. So we don't really know. We're talking about those 3 ancient Greek stories, man against himself. I want to see these guys play in some cold weather. I watched a Nittany Lions game when I did the first game with Wisconsin this year. So I watched games from last year, and I watched the Illinois-Penn State game. It looked like it was so cold. I mean, it was just a beautiful cold. And I want to see some of these feline SEC guys come up here and play in something like November in the Midwest. And we'll really see what they were about. But defense is everything right now, and I love it.
Gus, being a defensive guy myself, I agree on that. You saw Penn State against Wisconsin this year. Seeing them in person, what impressed you the most about them?
Organization, Coach. They look organized. They don't have the best talent. And I'm just going to say it. They don't have Ohio State talent. They don't have Alabama talent. But what I do like is how cerebral their coach is and how he knows how to put them in the right positions to make it a Penn State kind of game. They're going to run the ball. I think Sean Clifford has been serviceable. I do not think he's a star, but he's been serviceable, and they've done the things that they've needed to do to win games, especially on the defensive end. I mean, they got, I got my boards here. I don't know if you see my boards. Very proud of it.
You're ready to go.
These are considered artistic. These are my Picassos. These are my Michelangelos or whatnot. But just looking at the defense, I mean, especially those guys on the back end, Tariq Castro-Fields, Jaquan Brisker, Jair Brown, and Joey Porter. I feel like when I watch these guys, I mean, Joey Porter's listed as a redshirt freshman. Jair Brown is listed as a freshman. Jaquan Brisker is a senior, and Tariq Castro-Fields is a senior. But I feel like I'm looking at some pros. So guys that are going to be playing on Sunday. And I just love James Franklin. I think James Franklin is one of the best coaches in America, and he's one of the most unsung coaches. I mean, think about it. Coach, he won at Vanderbilt in the SEC. I mean, come on. Who wins at Vanderbilt in the SEC? And I just think that because of that, he's helped Penn State become the kind of program that has won a Big Ten championship, and right now is the number 4 team in the nation. So I love their organization. I love their discipline. I love their commitment. I love their physicality. To be honest with you, man, I just want to see dudes get knocked out. To be honest, I mean, we are Americans. I did soccer in Europe for 2 years. I did 2 FA Cups. I did 2 Champions Leagues, and they call it the beautiful game. Yeah, whatever. But our game, American football, is the beautiful game because there's a penalty. You could get knocked out. And that's really what I like. I like the violence of American football, and I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah, Gus is just getting warmed up. He's going to hang around and talk more with us in a Zoom interview about Penn State-Iowa, along with a bunch of other college football topics. We're going to step aside for the TV show to take a break. If you want to see the entire conversation with one of the most kinetic announcers in sports, make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire interview, along with other web-exclusive content.
I like this kid, P.J. Mustafer. I just think that I just look up and it's Penn State. Coach, your dad's spirit is still there.
I appreciate you saying that.
And it's true. He was one of the greatest in the history of the greats. And to me, the Nittany Lions are special. So I don't think that they will fear going into Iowa City. It's going to be a great crowd, and it's going to be a special day and all that. But when the ball is kicked, I think the Nittany Lions are going to go out there and play hard. They're going to make it their game. What I like about James Franklin, he takes stuff away from you. And I'm interested because Coach Ferentz at Iowa, he's great. His son as the offensive coordinator, terrific. And this is just going to be by the end of this game, I think there's going to be broken glass everywhere.
I agree with it.
Blood in the streets.
Every once in a while. This next question comes from a fan. We like to throw fan questions every once in a while. So, Michael from a town called Port Matilda, Pennsylvania, just over the mountain from us. And yes, there is a town called Port Matilda, and there is no port there. He wants to know why you always say the world famous Ohio State Buckeyes when they run on the field. And according to this email, Michael's friend Dave from Columbus always mentions that world famous tag to him, and it really burns Mike up. Mike wants to know why you introduced the Buckeyes that way.
You know what? That's a great question, and I'm going to give Mike that answer. In 1936, when the world was on the verge of war, World War II, Adolf Hitler was the leader of the Nazi Party, and the Olympics were hosted in Berlin, Germany. And there was a young man back then in 1936 when African Americans were still being treated and abused in this country. But there was a young man by the name of Jesse Owens that went to Berlin and won 4 gold medals. He won the 100, the 200, the 4x1, and the long jump in front of Adolf Hitler on his home turf. And it sent a clear and present message that resonated with the entire world. Where was that man from?
Ohio State University.
World famous Ohio State University. And during that time, he made Ohio State world famous. So, when Jesse Owens goes to Ohio State, when Jack Nicklaus, the greatest golfer of all time, is at Ohio State, they are a world famous university. But more than anything, during 1936, when everything was on the line for the world. Ohio State came through and bitch slapped that guy.
That is a fantastic answer. And Michael from Port Matilda, you can't bitch about that one.
Hey, Gus, looking around the Big Ten, Penn State has an off week before a final 6-game schedule that includes Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State. I mean, everyone knows what the Buckeyes have. And knowing you're a Detroit native, which of the 2 Michigan schools has been the biggest surprise, and which one is most dangerous to Penn State?
I think Michigan State has been the biggest surprise. What Mel Tucker has done with them in only his second year coming off a COVID season, they look great. And what I like about them, Coach, is that they look physical and nasty. I know they went down to Miami and defeated the Hurricanes on their home field, which may not be as big of an accomplishment now, but back then, it's only his second year. It's about to get cold.
That's right.
You know,
thanks to the Red Cedar.
Right, it's about to get cold. And, last week, where were we? We were in Wisconsin. It was 75 degrees. I felt like I was in Florida. I was miserable. But it's about to get cold, and the teams like the Penn States, like the Iowas, like the Michigans, like the Michigan States, I don't know about Ohio State anymore, though. They throw it a whole lot. I don't know. I don't know if Ohio State is. I don't know who they are. Are they? Tell me, Coach. You're a defensive man. Is Ohio State a throwing team, or are they a passing team now? I mean, when I did the Wisconsin, when the Minnesota game and the Oregon game this year, they threw it 50 times. 50 times? Are you going to throw it 50 times in November? I don't know. What do you think?
You know what? I don't think, has November. The one thing you mentioned about Michigan State is, in the banks of the Red Cedar up there, things get awfully cold at the end of November. And it's going to be a different type of game, as you know, when it gets like that up there. I would agree with you about the 2 Michigan teams. Michigan State creates probably going to be a tougher test. Ohio State just has such great athletes. Do I see them throwing the ball like that in November? I think that's what they do now.
I love Michigan, especially coming off this game. This backup quarterback they have, this 5-star kid, his name is can't remember his name.
I think it's McCarthy, maybe.
McCarthy.
Yeah.
He can run.
Yeah.
And he can really throw the rock. And McNamara is solid. I mean, he's solid. He hasn't played a lot. But this McCarthy kid, he reminds me the most of Jim. Like, people don't realize how great Jim Harbaugh was as a player. I covered him in the NFL with the Bears and with the Colts. I mean, the guy was like Snake Plissken from Escape from New York. You guys remember him.
We're some old heads on this call.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But listen. Everybody's always kind of like saying that Jim is kind of eccentric, goofy, crazy. But I covered him. He had more concussions than probably anybody. He was beaten down on the field. He was a tough dude that could run. And I like this kid that they have. And Jim got him in the game, which, Coach, I didn't really understand. He put him in the game to start the second half, and they were winning. And so Joel and I, my partner, we were like, what is it? Why is he doing this? But then the kid, when he did get to play, showed out, threw a long touchdown pass, was able to get out, break contain, come up with some positive runs. They had run design plays for him, something that we haven't really seen from a Michigan quarterback. So playing at Penn State, and I'm sure that's going to be a whiteout game. It's going to be rough, but it's going to be very interesting to see, because they play Penn State, they got to play Michigan State, Michigan, and then the world famous. So I'm looking forward to it.
Gus, I see the T-shirt. It doesn't say Fox Prime Time College Football Kickoff, right? It says Big Noon Kickoff. And I've been at the station here for 20-some years at a Fox affiliate, and I've been up a lot of late Saturday nights, and still we have some late games. Why is Big Noon Kickoff working? I mean, there's been a mid-afternoon, there's been night. What about the Big Noon is working for the network? And you guys, for you and Joel and just everybody having a good time with it?
Because we're the first thing on. And people want to get up and watch football. Now, I wouldn't want to go to the Big Noon Kickoff if I was going to the game, because that wouldn't be a good tailgate. Too early, I'm still, I'd still be waking up from the hangover from the night before. But, it gives you a chance to have your day. You watch a game at noon, sometimes 11 o'clock, like in Central Time zones. And then you can go out and enjoy Saturday. You can look at your phone or do whatever you do to keep up to date on the scores. But you see a big time game as soon as you wake up, which is noon, and you can get it going. And I think that's what people have gravitated towards, being able to get up, watch good. And we've had a great schedule. We've had some really, really good games. Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. That was a night game. Who else did we do? We did Oklahoma, Nebraska, which was an 11 a.m. kick, which turned out to be. Coach, did you see that kid?
Yeah.
Exception.
I heard your call on that one too. Pretty good.
Yeah, man. Not bad.
You got a little bit of. I don't know if anybody's told you this yet, Gus. You got a little bit of a flair for the dramatic.
Oh man, I'm
Hey,
one thing you can say, hey coach, one thing you can say about me is that I am fully engaged in what's going on.
And I think that's why people respond to your broadcasts so well. This one's on a more of a personal note. For years, I have maintained the most famous Howard University alum was Justice Thurgood Marshall. Okay, with you as a close second. Okay, you're a close second. Now, with Howard alum Kamala Harris now at vice president, do you still have a hold on that spot, or do you think she's topped you out there? And also, if you want to talk a little about the HBCU experience as well, because I know so many friends of mine have graduated from school like that, speak with such reverence to the experience that they've had at places like Howard or at places like Norfolk State or wherever, that kind of thing.
Coach P, I am way down on the list. I don't even think I'm on the list. I mean, we have people like Marshall and Kamala Harris and Sean Puff Diddy Combs and Donnie Hathaway, and the list goes on and on. So to even be considered to be in the top 10,000 makes me happy. But having a chance to go to Howard, to be quite honest with you, just being around my people, my own people, not having to worry about certain things about fitting in. I grew. My confidence grew. I learned about my history. But to be honest with you, the women, the prettiest women on planet Earth. And to me, if I were a coach and coaching at Howard, I would have one major recruiting tool in my bucket, and that would be, these are the prettiest. You go to Howard to find your wife, and that's just what it is. I mean, Kamala Harris was in school during the time I was in school. She was a Delta. No, she was an AKA, and I was a Kappa. I didn't get a chance to run across her though, unfortunately, but that's another story. So that's what it was. Just home, man. It's when you go there. It's a tribe. It's tribal. It's HBCUs. There are a number of different branches of tribes from all around the country. So, it makes you feel good, and I'm glad that we're getting an opportunity to have a little bit more light nowadays.
Hey, Gus, question here. Aside from your movie cameo in He Got Game, you got 4 years starting for Howard in baseball. Okay, you're working alongside Joel Klatt, Jenny Taft, Phil Raftery, and Jim Jackson, which is pretty exciting. What is the most exciting game you ever called?
Man, That's a good question, Coach. I've called so many exciting games. Oh my gosh, so many.
Can you give me 2, 3?
Well, one of the most exciting games that I called was my first 1996, Indianapolis, Indiana, NCAA tournament. Princeton Tigers taking on the UCLA Bruins, who are the defending national champions.
Look, he's setting it up for just like he would in the broadcast. You hear that?
Am I being too dramatic? Sorry.
What a pro. But go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
To be honest with you, Coach, it's just me. I mean, I loved it. You know, last night, Coach P, I was listening because I'm kind of a nerd like that. I was watching John Facenda on NFL film. And the language.
Was
and
the coldest day in NFL
Right.
history. Yes.
Exactly. But I got my notepad and I was writing down his quotes. I'm gonna break out some of these John Facenda. This writing on Saturday. But so that game, Princeton, Pete Carrill, the old ball coach from Princeton, he beat him. He beat him in the Princeton way on a backdoor cut at the end. I just thought that for me was an incredible moment. I also thought, like, I've had some great moments in the NFL, but college football wise, when Ohio State lost Braxton Miller and lost JT Barrett and Cardale Jones came off the bench in 2014, was 13, Big Ten championship. He hadn't started a game. And he put up major numbers. They won the game, went on to beat Alabama in the semifinal, and the Buckeyes brutalized them. And then in the national championship game, they almost broke Marcus Mariota in half. But that game, that Ohio State game, is a game that I'll always remember because here is a kid that comes from Cleveland, Ohio. You know, like, it wasn't the most disciplined kid, but when they needed him most, Urban Meyer put him in the game, and he shined for the Bucs.
I saw him play in high school on a Friday night. And from the 5-yard line, guy was going to hit him, and he jumped and stuck the landing in the end zone. And Bill Kenny was with me. He goes, I've seen all I need to see. And I said, you got it right. I still got a picture of my phone of Cardale next to my dad, and he just towered over my dad. Great.
Wow.
Great. I was at the 2017 Ohio State-Michigan game on the sideline, and Cardale saw me and came running over. I said, you should have gone to Penn State. He could have worked out.
That's right. He should have gone to Penn State. He would have played. I always give Urban Meyer a hard time. I was like, man, how you going to bench a guy that never lost a game in college? And you bench him. And as soon as you benched him, you lose. You suck, I told him.
That's a luxurious quarterback room when you feel like you can bench the guy that's never started, never lost a start.
Right.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Gus, we could keep you all night long, but I do want to ask you one last question. You mentioned in that long list of sports, hockey was in there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't know if you can make it 4 rounds without just going completely nuts. I mean, that is right. Wouldn't that be some unbelievable announcing to be able to go through the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Well, you know, I used to play hockey as a kid.
Uh-huh.
As a matter of fact, I was on the ice with Jenny Taft the other day in Madison, man. Getting old sucks, man. My stabilizer muscles are gone.
And Jenny's pretty darn good skater, too.
Right. She's awesome. She's a real hockey player. She could have played.
A real hockey player.
Right. And her dad was an NHL player.
Yep.
But Mike Emmerich, he's got that all covered. He's a multiple Emmy Award winning broadcaster. But, you know, I used to do hockey years ago. I used to do some NCAA hockey. I was in Worcester, Mass years ago. Mike Greer was at Boston University. And I called some of those games. But, you know, I think I'm all right where I am. I'm looking forward to being in Iowa City this weekend and having a chance to see the Hawkeyes and the Nittany Lions in a good old-fashioned Big Ten Midwest fist fight.
Awesome. Gus, thanks so much, man. We really, really appreciate the time.
You got it, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Gus, great seeing you again.
Back one day.